All right. Well, it looks like it is just about 1 o'clock Mountain Time. So let's get started. Well, welcome everyone. This is DES 104. Um, oh, I was about to say Photoshop, but no, that's not what our course is called. I believe it's Image Editing Basics. And we are in our first session. It is our first week, and it is Tuesday, August 8th, 2017. So welcome to all of our students who are here. Looks like we have lots of students who have shown up, which is very, very cool. And then also welcome to everybody who is not here in person, but who is joining us via video. So how's everybody who is here doing? You guys can feel free to type in the chat box if you would like a little update on your day. And I am going to start my video so I can officially say hi to you all. Oops, okay, I know my video is on, but where am I? Okay, that's not me either. Can you guys see me? Okay, pretty excited. Yes, you can see me. Oh man, super distracting. I have no idea where I am. And okay, show thumbnail oh hey, there I am. Oh, and hey, there's somebody else too. Hi. Good to see you. Yeah, it's funny because as you will discover, it's always nice to turn on the video, like say hi, like hey, we are real humans here in this whole online thing. Then the other thing you realize is that when the video is on, you're just like obsessed with looking at yourself in the video. Like I know what I look like, and it's not like anything I need to stare at. But yeah, if there's just like a little moving person, it's like, what is she doing? And it's like, oh, that's me. And so anyway, I like to turn it on. Good to check in. Good to just kind of get acclimated and such. And we won't leave it on very long because as we all know, I'm completely distracted. But the other thing too is that this is quite a large bandwidth. And so we can have videos at the beginning, just kind of say hi, check in, do that kind of stuff. But just as kind of a courtesy for people that are watching this a bit later, we're going to go video off just because it makes the recording of the session a lot smaller. So the bandwidth is just a lot easier to process. So we want to be mindful of the internet for everyone. So we're going to kind of keep it small. But yeah, great to see everybody. All right, I'm going to sign off now, and sounds good. So we'll turn off. I say I'm going to sign off, and then it's like, wait, I suddenly disappeared. Where am I? Let's stop the video. Okay. Fun times with Zoom. All these updates and changes and things that sneak up when we least expect it. All right, so for all of you who are joining us via video, you do not have the benefit of seeing this, but the chat box, meaning the students who are here in person, are doing well. Looking forward to a good new mod, all those sorts of things. So hopefully, you're having a good day too, whatever day it might happen to be that you're watching this. All right, so let's start things out just with a little agenda of where we're going to be headed for the next 2-ish hours. So we're going to begin with introductions. So I'm going to tell you guys a little bit about me, kind of my background, where I'm located, that sort of thing. And then hopefully you all are going to share a bit about yourself as well, kind of in an effort to take this from being, again, kind of something that could be very relatively impersonal because we are all staring at screens, not at one another. So we're going to kind of try to shrink down the classroom for a little bit through some intros. Then we're going to do an overview of the class itself. So just kind of get you guys oriented to a couple things that are quite important and that also will make your chances of both completing this course and staying sane a whole lot higher. So number one goal, I know, for everyone, especially for everyone in August who has, made it through a summer being in school. We want to stay sane and pass as well. Then we're going to talk about setting the stage a bit, just some kind of very high-level overview pieces about Photoshop, kind of Photoshop in general, kind of how it's set up, just how to kind of conceptualize the program. And then we're going to actually jump into Photoshop. We're going to talk about the assignment for this week. I'm going to do a demonstration, introduce you to a couple tools, and hopefully there'll be a good intro, and everybody will realize, you know, even if this is your first time in Photoshop, even if you're totally new to the experience, it's actually not as tricky as it looks. So we're going to kind of demystify Photoshop a little bit, and that should probably probably take us to the 2-hour mark. Let's see, my sanity went out the window a long time ago. Great, welcome to the club. No, yeah, if anything, maybe it'll make you slightly more creative. Okay, so every week we have a couple different learning objectives, and these objectives are going to kind of orient us a little bit toward what the content is for the week, things we're going to be studying. So you can see this week we're going to explain and apply image editing software toolbox to edit images. So that's going to apply directly to our assignment for this week. And number 2, differentiate between raster and vector graphics. And this is going to have a bit more to do with the assessment for this week, which is a bit of a quiz. So image editing software, aka Photoshop, and then also kind of the technical details, nuts and bolts of the software. We're going to get into that just a bit. But before we do all of that, wanted to say welcome and do a couple intros. So this is actually a picture of me in my entirety. So you saw just a small bit of my head, but here's the rest of me. So my name is Lisa Hammersheim, which I probably actually haven't even said until now, which is terrible. 7 minutes in, and you don't know who's talking, but that's okay. But yeah, so my name is Lisa. You'll notice the little furry one in my arms. That is actually my 6-year-old Yorkshire Terrier named Ruby Joy. You may or may not hear her occasionally during our session. She does like to chime in, and I do encourage her to not. So we have a little bit of a tense relationship at times, but overall, she's my little princess, and we are kind of inseparable in so many ways. So we're doing a little West Coast, or I guess Western exploration. We did hit up Glacier National Park this summer. It was very fun, and this was actually on Ruby Joy's birthday. So she turned 6 while we were exploring the park, and we actually also drove up to Canada. So she kind of had a birthday that crossed 2 different countries, and it was kind of fun. And you know, when you're 6, it's such a big deal. So you should do things like that. So as far as a little more about us, well, I guess about me, I've been teaching with Independence University for just over 6 years now. So I love the online learning world. I love this idea that you can go to school and it doesn't require you to, you know, uproot, stop your life, go live in a dorm and, you know, kind of put everything on pause and, you know, do school. I really like that school can kind of integrate into your lives. I am actually a graduate, not of IU, but of a fully online graphic design MFA program out of the Academy of Art University in San Francisco. So I can completely relate to what you all are doing. This idea that, you know, you go to school by looking at a screen. I think it's excellent. And I also know that it is a little bit challenging at times. So things like life get in the way when you're kind of, you know, not going somewhere to go to school. So kind of to that end, if you guys ever have any issues like you get sick, you have a kid that gets sick, you have a family member that gets sick, job stuff comes up, just any crazy weather, I can't even predict, you know, what potentially could happen. But just if something happens with you over the course of the next 4 weeks when we're together, know that I am ready and willing to be very flexible and work with you and kind of give you the help and support that you might need to get through. But the other thing I ask of you is just let me know what's going on. So kind of, tell me if something happens. Don't tell me all the way at the end of class and say, hey, this happened in week 1. As things are happening, please kind of keep me posted in real time. So I love emails. I love text messages. Just anything that's going on with you guys, please feel free to share and kind of check in. So I want us to have fun. And I also want us to very, very much kind of be open and be a community for the next couple weeks. So to that end, I would like everyone to get involved if they can. And again, for those of you who are joining us via video, so sorry you're actually not going to be able to get involved, but you can enjoy what's about to happen for the next couple minutes. So you should all see that you have a map on your screens. And if you do happen to be on a computer, I'm not totally sure if this works on a mobile device, so maybe we can learn something together. Excuse me, but if you are on a computer, if you hover kind of near the top of your screen, I believe there's something that should say more options. And then if you click on it, you should see something that says annotate. That's spelled ANNOTATE. And so basically what I would love for you guys to do is to just take your annotation tools and make some sort of mark on this map as to where you are located in the country. So you can make a circle, you can make a little X. It doesn't really matter. Just kind of a little mark as to where you're located. And if you can't see it, let me know. Oh, good. Somebody's found it. If you can't see it, let Ladarius know that you can't see it, or somebody else who's making some notes. Mostly because I know from the non-presenter view, it's the annotation tools are always located somewhere not quite where I think they would be. So it's always slightly tricky to figure out kind of where they might be. But yeah, okay, so let's see. We have lots of people tuning in from the East Coast. Looks good. See if we have any West Coasters. Maybe, maybe not. Very nice. Yeah, so it looks like, okay, somebody who is extremely far east. This is me doing geography. Massachusetts, I'm hoping. Maybe, we shall see. Looks like Ohio, I know. Michigan, I know. I am the little red X, and I am actually located just outside of Chicago, so I'm Midwest proud. Looks like we have Alabama, I think. Okay, let's see, you're in Mass. Sweet, very cool. I was actually in Boston and Salem this spring and loved it. Yeah, I can't believe everything so much in Massachusetts is like so old. When I was in Boston, everywhere I would go, it was like, wow, and the house was inhabited since like the 1500s, and this street was built in 1470, or not quite that old, but yeah. Whereas in Chicago, it's like, hey, 1900, whoa, it's historic, but it's not really. But moving east, you realize that. Very cool. All right, so we'll give a couple more seconds. If anybody can't figure out where their tools are or anything, you have a question, feel free to just, in the chat box say, help, I don't know where it is. Mostly because it's hard to find sometimes. And then it's kind of once you find it, you're like, oh, this is really cool. But trying to find it's a little tricky. And I do like, to have you guys participate if possible, and just kind of marking up and answering and doing that kind of stuff. But yeah, so anyway, good to see where people are. Another reason that we do this, not just so I can, practice my geography skills, make sure I know my state outlines, is that once again, I just really want to reinforce that even though, we are all in different places, we're all in different states, we're in different time zones as well. For the next 4 weeks, we really are a community. We are, we're kind of together in this. We're the 109 tribe kind of deal. So, as you guys are working, if you're having issues, if you're struggling, or even if you're just like super enjoying yourself doing projects, you can always think like, hey, how cool is this? Like, there are people all across the country that are kind of having the same experience. Like, I'm not alone in this, and it's so much bigger than anything that we can kind of think of and go with. So it's a cool thing to see that you are you're doing your thing. You're probably the only person in your town that's a student at IU, but you've got this classroom that stretches from coast to coast, and that is that is no small thing. And look at this, we do have someone from California. So we really are stretching from coast to coast between Massachusetts and between Massachusetts and California. Yes, love it how it moves all the way through. All right, so let's move right along. The other thing I always have this like hope for whenever I do this, which so far it hasn't happened, but I'm still holding out, one day it will, that we will have two students who will say that they're from the same town and actually be like down the street neighbors or something and both be in the same class. So every mod, I hope that there will be two people who didn't know each other, but they're in the same town. Hasn't happened yet, but someday it will. And if you're watching the recording though, and you are from any one of these states that has little marks in it, maybe you have a neighbor here. You never know. Kind of cool. All right, so I'm going to clear, and we're gonna move right along. We're gonna jump into the class itself. So here is our classroom. Well, the online version of our classroom. So first, kind of check in. Is this a new homepage for anybody? Has anybody seen this kind of blue homepage before, or were you like me, where you got into the course and were like, whoa, redesign time? Okay, it looks like yes, I have once for Ing 223. Okay, so you guys, this is like old hat. Good to know. It's just okay. Ronnie says, oh, it was new for me. Yeah, nice. Okay, so if you're like me, you may have looked at this like, whoa, it looks so different. What is everything? I have to actually read and look at pictures now. What? So you get used to it, and you probably already are used to it. I still open it and I'm just like a little shocked as to what it looks like, but it's okay. So just a couple things to be aware of. Daily checkpoints. Make sure you are doing them on a daily basis, and at daily or at least every other day, mostly because these are 5 points each, and they're not super tricky. They shouldn't take all that long to complete, but they will really, really, really help your grade. So after you take a certain number of them, they start being extra credit. So it's just a win for everybody. So if you can, always program sometime during your day that you just pop into the classroom quick, click on the daily checkpoint, get it done. You will, you may not notice it anytime soon, but near the end of class, you will say, wow, I actually have a ton of points. And like, wow, how did that happen? So it's just these really build up over time. So really make time to complete them. I had students last mod who were not able to pass the course, and had they done daily checkpoints, they could have done it. So it gets me every time. So start at the beginning and, make this a habit. Like, this is like you brush your teeth every day, you do your daily checkpoints, and somewhere down the road, you will thank yourself. Okay, so live sessions. You guys probably found this, but since you've made it here, but if you did come in via the link I sent in the email or announcements, just be sure to check this page as well. So we have our live sessions every Tuesday at 1 p.m. Mountain. We also have what's called a multi-session, which is going to happen on Thursdays at 1 p.m. So multi-sessions are great if you have questions about the content, if you need a refresher on something, if you want to just hang out with me and chat or just work. So whatever you kind of need is kind of how the multi-sessions are structured. And the other cool thing is that all 100 level courses have multi-sessions. And so if you're like, Thursdays at 1 p.m. are the worst time ever for me, but I need help in something, chances are there might be a time that you could make. So be sure to check the announcements for the list of when the other courses are having their multi-sessions. And the cool thing is that we're all kind of cross-trained. And so, anybody who's having a multi-session will probably be a good person to answer questions. So, kind of check that out as well. Okay, so another thing you will find here is the recorded sessions. So we have kind of a pre-recorded and then also the live, which is what we're in now. So you want to make sure that you're making time for both of these and getting some good content as well. So I'm going to be posting the recording from this session right here. So this is under live sessions and recordings. Kind of scroll down here. I'll also be posting it in announcements, so you should be able to find it either way. It's kind of funny because I was about to say, if you can't find, the live session, or if you can't find out how to get into the live session, let me know. Of course, if you can't find how to get into the live session, you're probably not here, and if you can't find how to get the recording, you're not watching. So, but yeah, if you have any issues, just let me know. So a couple other things. The instructor bio. I was saying that I'm very open to kind of working with you guys as you need. If you need assistance, hopefully nobody does. Nothing goes wrong. But if you do need anything, you can feel free to contact me. So just take note of my email. Take note of my phone number. Skype, if you're a Skyper, you can contact me that way as well. So just keep that in mind. And like I said, just kind of keep me in the loop as far as what's kind of going on with you. Okay, so one more thing as far as kind of keeping us all in the loop. So of these students who are here, how is everybody doing with getting Adobe, with getting Photoshop, with that sort of stuff? So if you could just type in the chat box like, got it, great, or like, frustrated out of my mind, tired of waiting, any negative emotions are totally okay. We can deal as well. But I just want to kind of get a read where everybody is. Okay. Let's see. I have it. I haven't got it yet. Don't know how to get Photoshop. Okay. So if you are a web design student, I apologize because what I am going to show you is not going to be applicable to you. But if you are a web design student, you should have received an email from James Major, and you will need to check that email and get the information through that email. So if you're studying web design, check your email, look for something from James Major. If you're like, James who, web what, then listen, because this will be for you. So to get access to Adobe, you don't need to purchase it. You don't need to do anything of a financial nature. You do get it through the school, but what you're going to need to do is come to the IU Graphic Arts community. So I'm just in my course dashboard, and hopefully you should, your dashboard looks a bit different, but hopefully you should see something like this. So click on it, and welcome. Take a look around. So basically what the IU Graphic Arts community is just that. It's a bit like if we were to have a graphic arts studio building or something on campus. It's kind of the place where we have all of our resources, kind of where we hang out. There's a discussion board. There's information about our extracurricular activities. So there's just lots of cool stuff that I would encourage you to kind of poke around and explore. And this is not like a course that you have to worry about a grade in. This is just a course for fun. So that's like the best, I think the best kind of course. But yeah, so anyway, when you come in here, you're going to have to first go to this pre-learning assessment. So you come in, it looks like this. Just scroll down a little bit in pre-learning assessment. And then basically, in order to get access to your Adobe credentials, you're just going to have to go in here and take an assessment. So based on whatever program you happen to be enrolled in is what you're going to do. And this is, how many points? I think it's like 25 questions or so. I don't really remember. But it's not graded. It doesn't affect your GPA. It's really just for you to kind of do a check-in as far as what skills you're coming in with. And then also give you kind of like a heads up about different things that you're going to be learning while you're in the program. So if you do it and you get like a 5%, don't beat yourself up. Just say, hey, I am going to learn so much in this program. Like, how cool is this? So kind of, keep that in your mind. So you have to complete the assessment. And then once you do that, you will be eligible for your Adobe download. And let's see, Smith says, I got install instructions today from Sean. Yeah, you will be receiving an email from, I think, Sean Childers Gray. So you want to be on the lookout for that. And once you have that, you will be directed through this, navigate through this page, which is Adobe CC install/upgrade. So, you're going to kind of come through these steps. So one thing that I would say, if you have recently received a Mac and you have never received or used a Mac before, just do a little, kind of reading, kind of orient yourself to your Mac. It's super easy once you figure it out. But there are just a couple like weird quirks to working on a Mac. So you want to make sure that you're kind of setting yourself up for success for sure. Okay, so you're going to walk through how to do it. I know if you're anything like me, you're like, meh, directions, who needs them? Let me just, figure it out. Read the directions, read the email. There are so many little steps, and like it's quite easy to do, but there's just a couple like weird things you have to be aware of. So kind of try to go slow and try to be in a spot where you can be logical and follow all the instructions. One other thing too is if things feel like they're a little bit slow from the IU end, we have about, I think it's close to or just over 100 students that are getting their Adobe for the first time this mod. And even though we are trying to be very efficient, this is a process that's overseen by humans. So things tend to take a little bit of time sometimes, just if people get really busy. So if you haven't heard, I feel like 24 hours is about kind of what it might take. But if you haven't heard after like 2 days and you're like, what's going on? Let me know and I'll look into it for you. But if you click, if you do your assessment and then, expect things to happen immediately, and then, get frustrated, try not to, because things are not going to happen immediately, but they should happen, fairly quick as you're working. So, and then if you have any questions, like, please let me know and I'll try to see what's going on. Okay, so how to do it, all these things, so it should walk you through. And then you'll see different software that you have and all the options that you could have. If you look at this and just go, whoa, that's a lot, it actually is. So we're just going to be using one. So don't be overwhelmed by the the sheer number of potential. Okay, so that is Adobe, and you will need Photoshop for this course. That is really the only piece of software that we're going to be using in any depth. So make sure that you are doing the pre-assessment. Make sure that you are doing what you need. And if you have any questions, make sure that you are asking. Let's see. So we have lots of people that have install instructions. Has anybody actually installed yet? Okay, looks like one person has it. And did that make sense? If you didn't know how to get Photoshop, does that kind of feel like it's giving you some orientation? Mm-hmm. Okay. Let's see, in the process of doing so now. Sweet, very cool. Yeah, and I will say it used to be that you guys would download like the full program the full program to your machine, and it would be like this like 6 gigabyte file or something. I mean, it was it was basically like downloading a small town. It felt like that because it was so big. But now it's all Adobe programs are actually kind of hosted in a cloud format. And so it's a much smaller download and a lot less lives on your computer. And I, for one, am quite happy about that because I fill up my computer on my own. I don't need, software to do that for me. So, okay. So one more thing, as long as we are in the course, just to take a quick peek at announcements. So I will be posting a couple announcements every week, probably like 3 to 5 or so. So make sure that you are in the habit. If you get a little notification that there's a new announcement, just make sure that you click on it. So here's our Zoom space again, a little welcome overview. One thing I did want to say is that we will be doing critique in this class. So basically what that means is that you guys will be doing work, and then the following week we're going to kind of like do a little show and tell of it. I'm going to give you comments and feedback. Hopefully you all are going to give each other comments and feedback. So this is kind of the way teaching and learning has traditionally worked in graphic design. So it's very collaborative. It's very kind of process oriented. We as designers, we learn how to think critically by looking at other people's work and then giving them feedback, comments, kind of ways that we feel like their work can better communicate. So that's kind of what we're going to be doing in this course. So if that doesn't feel good to you, if you're like, I don't want people to see my work, I want to opt out of this, that is 100% okay. It's completely up to you if you want to participate or not. But I would say if you do not want to participate, please send me an email and just say, hey, you're the only one I want to see my work. And I'll be like, great, fine. Like, I'll just give you feedback. But if you are feeling fairly brave, I would say it's extremely helpful to share your work with other people and just to see kind of what other people are thinking. So I've been around the block a bit as a designer, but you guys all have very cool life experiences and your eyes are just as good as mine in a lot of ways. So if we can kind of get more eyes on the process, more people part of the process, then it's just so much better. So critique will happen next week, not this week. Okay, let's see. Oops, one more announcement. Maybe 3 more. Great American Road Trip. Make sure that you are still participating. The road is calling. So this is the final mod of kind of logging in, doing prizes and things like that. I actually had very good luck last mod with a whole bunch of students from the course I was teaching won. So I don't know if that was the end of my luck, but if you haven't logged in, check it out as well. Then we have our dedicated course learning coach, who is Wanda Bryant. If you have any other issues, you can feel free to check in with her. She too is another good set of eyes on your process, on your work. And last but not least, here's the multi-sessions, which we talked about a little bit in our live live recordings and videos. So here is the schedule. Like I said, I would encourage you, if you can, make it to my multi-session, which is Thursdays at 1 p.m. But if you can't make it, and you feel like you want to just get a bit more time with an instructor, check out the schedule and see if there's any times that you might make it. And you can just do that by downloading, I guess I can do it right now, downloading this PDF and kind of see what happens. So here's when they're running. Here are the people who are running them, and you can kind of see, looks like Tuesday, Wednesday, everybody loves a multi-session on Thursday, and then Friday there's one as well. So this is like, yeah, I mean, this is, if you have questions about anything, these things are so good to check out. And if you don't have any questions, but you and I think I'm back. Hopefully you guys are hopefully you guys are back too. Can you hear me? I'm sorry about that. I was just in the midst of pushing the multi-sessions, and apparently my computer got overwhelmed, or my internet got overwhelmed just by the sheer number of multi-session potentials. So it does happen. But yeah, so anyway, excuse me, multi-sessions, please make sure that you check it. Excuse me, that you check it out if you have any questions, and things should be good. The other thing too is that we have Adobe Help sessions. So week 1, Fridays at 2 p.m. If you have a Mac, so if you're a graphic arts student, and then week 1, Wednesdays at 6:30. If you are a web design student, you can check in with James Major. So this is if you're having any issues with your Adobe install or access, or just any questions. These are good points and good people to connect with. Okay, so let's jump out. So if anybody has any questions about the course kind of site itself, so if you're watching via video and you have any questions, or you're here, you can feel free to just reach out to me, and we will try to make it clear as well. Okay, so let's kind of change gears and look at the whole reason that we are all here together, the whole reason why we will be together for the next couple weeks, and that is this crazy little thing called Photoshop. So what I'm curious about, for those of you who are here and for those of you who are watching via video, is basically what is Photoshop? So do you guys have any ideas? Is it something you've heard about? Is it something you know? Is it something you've used before? Is it something you're completely clueless about? So how would you define Photoshop if you had to tell, well, not if you had to tell, when you tell, friends, family that you're, what course you're in this month, and you say, hey, image basics, I'm using Photoshop. And they're like, Photoshop, what's that? What would you say? And if you're watching via video, you can answer as well. What would you say? Can't type it, but you can certainly think about it. All right, let's see. Photoshop to edit pictures or images to your liking. I used Photoshop once in high school, was not very good at it. Image editing. See, heard about Photoshop but never used it. Yeah, so kind of words that seem to come up a lot. Images, editing, pictures. I guess given the name Photoshop, that would kind of beg the idea of photos and images. Let's see, never used it before? Okay. So I always think that it's good whenever we're learning something new to just start out with kind of a definition of what it is, like somebody's official put together of kind of what it might be, what's going on with it. So this is kind of the official overview of what Photoshop is. So Photoshop is a raster graphics editor developed and published by Adobe Systems for Mac OS and Windows. Photoshop was created in 1988 Whoa, can you believe it? 1988, that was actually a bit ago, um, by Thomas and John Knoll. Since then, it has become the de facto industry standard in raster graphics editing, such that the word Photoshop has become a verb, as in to Photoshop an image, Photoshopping, and Photoshop contest. And look at what luck we have. Ruby is answering what Photoshop is as well. So though Adobe discourages such use, so Adobe doesn't like it to be used as a verb, Photoshop can edit and compose raster images in multiple layers and supports masks, alpha compositing, and several color models, including RGB, CMYK, Scilab, spot color, and duotone. So basically, as you guys have said, Photoshop is kind of the industry standard software for anytime you need to edit photos, change photos, clean up photos, really do anything with a photo bent to it. So the word that seems to also be used quite a bit here is the word raster. Does anyone know what raster might mean, or raster graphics? Is that something that you say on a daily basis? I know it's something I certainly don't. So if you said yes, I would be kind of shocked, but it's okay. Okay, so we're going to go over what raster is in just a little bit, but just kind of another one to keep out there. It looks like the universal response is a no to that, and I promise she will be quiet in about 2 minutes, but we just got mail, and mail coming through the mail slot is basically the highlight of Ruby Joy's life, so we just go with it for a couple minutes every day. Okay, so what is raster? We're going to talk about it in just a little bit, but to kind of help us understand, we're basically going to look at how does Photoshop work. So we know it's a photo kind of image editing. It lets us kind of manipulate, perfect, clean up, all those things. We also know the word raster is kind of important. So basically how Photoshop works is it turns a picture of something, which has traditionally, been like snapped with a camera, printed out using inks and chemicals and developed and such on a piece of paper. So it takes that and it actually turns it into a digital format. And it does this by turning the image itself into a whole series of little squares. And the little squares are filled with color. So basically what a raster image is, what raster means, is an image that's created using squares of color. So you guys won't learn about this for a little bit, but just if you kind of ever hear the word vector, that's kind of the opposite of raster. So raster and vector, kind of two kind of different ends of the spectrum. So in Photoshop is the raster end. So like pixels, exactly. So you're even anticipating my next slide, I have a feeling. So in Photoshop, in raster graphics in general, images are composed of pixels. And does anyone know what a pixel is? This might have kind of clued you in by the zooming in of the apple, but what is a pixel? Does anyone have a good idea? And if you're watching via video, you can have a guess just as much. Okay, so if you were thinking pixels are like this picture, pixels are actually known as squares of color. So you can see, back to our apple, even though when you zoom out it looks like an apple that's on a tree, if you were to zoom it in all the way, you would see that each of those kind of minute changes, gradients in color, is actually a different colored square. And the computer is so clever because it's able to put those squares together at such a close proximity that to the human eye, it doesn't look like squares. It doesn't look like a quilt. It actually resolves into something that's an actual thing that we can recognize. So, moral of the story: raster images are images that are made of pixels. And what's a pixel really? A pixel is a little square of color. So kind of keep that in your minds, because this is how Photoshop works. This is how Photoshop is built, and this is what we are going to be manipulating when we are manipulating images in this class. So it may feel like you're going to be manipulating a full image, but actually what you're going to be doing is playing with these tiny, tiny squares of color, and the little changes and little things that you do to the tiny squares are eventually going to have a big impact on the complete image. So it's a pretty cool thing to think about, like just these little nudges, kind of what they're going to do. And yeah, it's kind of fun to think that there is a whole lot more going on in every Photoshop picture than you may think when you initially see it. So does that kind of make sense? So when I say raster graphics, what is that really? This is like a a quick pop quiz. What does raster actually mean? Okay, pictures made of pixels, exactly. And it actually kind of makes sense, like pixel pictures. Try saying that, fast 5 times. That would get a little tricky. Okay, so one other thing we're going to do before we actually jump into Photoshop is we're just going to take a look at what I think is probably one of the most important things in Photoshop itself. And we're going to look at it here because once we're in Photoshop, there's so many things to get distracted by, so it's just easier to see it in a slide form for the first time. So basically what this is the Photoshop toolbar. So this is where you get access to all of your different Photoshop tools that you are able to use to manipulate your picture. So to manipulate the pixels that are making up your picture. So kind of a cool thing about the Photoshop tool. So this is toolbar, in case anybody was wondering. But the cool thing about the toolbar is that if you guys notice, and if you're feeling a little like, whoa, this is a lot of information all at once, just trust me, for things like the assessment for this week, this might make a big difference. So kind of little heads up, little hint there. So cool thing about the toolbar, if you see this, these little kind of triangles on a lot of these tools, basically what these tell you is that there are a whole bunch of tools kind of nested under those tools. So you have a huge, kind of a huge range of things you can do, you can access just from the toolbar itself. So that's kind of a cool thing, and we'll look at that a bit more in detail when we're in Photoshop. The other thing too is that, you can select most tools not only with the mouse, but also with what are called shortcut keys. So the idea is that when you are working in software, you kind of want to do things as quickly as possible, just because it helps you have a more efficient workflow. So what Photoshop, what kind of all the Adobe products have developed are shortcut keys. So rather than having to go click on a tool, you can just push a key on your keyboard and the tool will kind of magically appear. So it's a pretty cool thing. It's kind of nothing I'm expecting you to learn in this course, but it's just something to kind of be aware of, because at some point, chances are you are going to want to speed up your workflow, and shortcut keys are kind of the best way to do that. But also, as I said, this might show up on the assessment. So just know that shortcut keys also are something to consider. Okay, so let's see. A couple more things to check out. So I said the toolbar was kind of one of the most important things in the software. What I would say is probably the second most important thing in the software is the layers panel. So the way that Photoshop works is that everything that you do ends up creating a new layer. And you can really think of layers as kind of like a stack of papers. So, every time you make a change, a manipulation, whatever, it's like adding a new paper to your stack. So layers are so this is the layers panel. So layers are very handy because you can manipulate an image, manipulate parts of an image without actually touching the real image itself. So it really does help to preserve what you are doing, and it really just helps kind of keep you organized, kind of keep you safe. So again, layers are sections in the image that can be manipulated independently. In a sense, they are stacked on top of each other. So kind of just, if you're if you're a little confused or you're a little like, whoa, this is what? Kind of makes sense because we haven't opened the software yet. But just know that in Photoshop, layers are a big deal. So just get that in your minds, and that it really is like they're kind of a stack of stuff. So toolbar, very important. Oops, get rid of that blue thing. And then layers panel, also very important. And then a couple other things. If you want to put a multi-layered image into your Photoshop image without losing all of those layers, use the place command. And this is, again, something that may or may not make a lot of sense at this moment. But as you start working, as you start kind of putting things together, this hopefully will kind of pop into your heads. So we're going to just kind of load it there, load it in your short-term memory, and hopefully it gets transferred to longer places. So if you want to put a multi-layered image into your Photoshop image without losing all those layers, use place. Okay, a couple other things before we open up the software itself. So if you make a mistake in Photoshop, the really great thing is that Photoshop actually has a very high level of grace. So you can undo lots and lots of times. So you can undo an action, undo a step, undo something well over 3 times, and you'll still be okay. So there is this beautiful thing called Command Z, which is kind of like the undo command. And so it's also a keyboard shortcut, as we were talking about. So you don't have to, commit things to Photoshop and have them be set in stone. You can undo them lots and lots of times. A-okay, all the way for that. All right, and then if you need help in Photoshop, there is a really great help menu. So, and then there's also, as I said, lots of great people that are also very good help menus that you can reach out to. But if you can kind of investigate the software yourself, it's a very good thing because it just helps, again, overall kind of orient you to what's going on. So that was kind of the very high level overview of just a whole bunch of things about Photoshop before we actually open the software itself. So like I said, if you're feeling slightly disoriented, it's okay. But also kind of keep this stuff in mind as you're working in Photoshop, and perhaps even more as you are working on things such as the assessment, hint, hint, because that may come in handy in lots of different ways. Okay, so last but not least, when we are working in Photoshop, especially when we're working in it in kind of the first couple times, I think that the most important thing to keep in mind is to really stay calm. So what you guys are doing, learning new software, is basically like learning a different language. So it's going to be confusing, it's going to be disorienting, it's going to be frustrating, it's going to be extremely exciting, it's going to be, encouraging, invigorating, it's going to be all the positive things. So kind of be prepared, be prepared this mod for basically all of the feelings, because guarantee you will kind of be extremely happy and extremely distraught at different times. But through it all, I would just encourage you to really stay calm and try to just enjoy, explore, and see what you can do. Don't put a ton of pressure on yourself to be perfect, because this is the first time, you guys are doing all of these things. So you really want to, just approach this with a fairly open spirit, and kind of see what happens, and know that I am here for you. The rest of the class is here for you. And so we will kind of make it through together. Okay, so who is ready to actually open up Photoshop and take a look at what's going on? Let's see. And I'm hoping if you're watching via video, you're like, I am, me. So, because I know that we, especially when we orient to like all these things, it's like, okay, toolbar, layers panel, whatever. Like, let's just get in there and get going. And totally with you there. Okay, so let me actually open my Photoshop, and we'll just watch it from the load screen together, kind of heighten the anticipation. I feel like we should have had some like good, rocky music or something playing, but for sure I'd lose my Zoom connection about that. Okay, looks like people in the chat box are ready. Yeah. So you can imagine this is going to be you staring into the frontiers of all that is possible in Photoshop. And the other thing Photoshop teaches you is to be a bit patient, because you do load it and then it's, you have a very good chance to take some deep cleansing breaths, stay calm, all that good stuff. Okay, so it's almost there. Oops. Wow, look at that. You see pictures of me giving a thumbs up and also me in a wedding. I'm cheering you on, even as we're here. Okay, so when you open up Photoshop, here's basically a view that you may or may not see. I have mine set to a kind of grid layout with my last opened images coming up first. So if you guys have just installed and kind of put this on, chances are you're not going to have anything in your last opened, since you haven't opened anything recently. It is a little strange to see myself doing a thumbs up kind of back to back. Okay, so we're going to just come in here and go to Create New. And basically with all of the Adobe programs, kind of the first thing you're always going to do is set the parameters for your document, and that happens through what's called the dialog box. So the new project dialog box, and this is basically what this is that you see here. So when you're here, you have things like changing width, changing height, changing resolution. The assignment for this week has some different parameters that we're going to look at, but we're not going to look at them quite yet. So I'm just going to hit OK, so we can take a peek at the interface itself. Okay, so here is Photoshop. Woohoo! I'm actually going to just do something really quick and see if I can reset that. Reset essentials. Okay, so when you guys open up your Photoshop, chances are it's going to look a bit like this. So you're going to have a document in the center, and by document I mean essentially like a blank page, a white space of some sort. And then you're going to have kind of a variety of different adjustments, windows, things that are opening up. And then you're also going to have this guy over here. Does anyone have a guess as to what this might be? Here's a hint. You've seen it before, but it did look slightly different. But you do know what it is. It was one of the things that we profiled. Okay, it looks like toolbar. Yes, toolbar. This is your toolbar. So here is something super cool about Photoshop. So all of these little things that are around the outside of your document, these are all like little mobile units. So they're almost like Legos or something. So can you guys all see? It's a little bit tricky to see, but the toolbar has this, oops, I pulled it and it didn't even go to the right spot. The toolbar has this darker colored gray thing at the top. so the top of the toolbar. And basically, if you grab this, you can move this around wherever you would like. So I'm clicking and dragging. So clicking on it with my thumb on my trackpad, dragging with my first finger, and you can kind of move it through. So the cool thing about the toolbar is it has this also little double, kind of double arrow thing. And this lets you scroll through some different views of the toolbar. So you can have two columns. No, this is one column, two columns. And this is 100% a personal preference. So whatever you'd like to do is what the right answer is. As far as should it be two, should it be one? I love two. When I have it long and skinny like this, I can't find anything because I'm so used to it being two. But like I said, you know, see what works for you, see what you like, see what's kind of your working jam, and then kind of go with that for you. Okay, so this is the toolbar. So kind of look at this. Looky here. Here is the layers panel, and the cool thing about the layers panel and really anything on this side is just like the toolbar, we can grab this and drag it out, and then we can kind of move it around. We can close it, open it. So, and then you can, you know, resize it from the bottom if you would like. So for the first assignment, you're really just going to use the toolbar and the layers panel. You can kind of ignore this other stuff. And I would really, really, really encourage you to pull your toolbar out of its, kind of out of the confines that it happens to be in over here. Mostly because it's kind of hard to work when it's in the corner. So it's just easier if you pull it out and you kind of can move it around. So when you guys get Photoshop, and when you install it for the first time, open it up, whatever, I would say, you know, go through and just try doing these things. So take your toolbar, try just moving it around, you know, try clicking these little arrowy things and see what happens. Take your layers panel, try just clicking it and moving it around. This may seem like kind of stupid stuff, but it's these kind of little skills of navigating the software and of really customizing it to kind of a workspace that works for you is key to being an efficient designer. And it's also key to just kind of knowing how to be confident in the software. So, you know, just do like these little kind of crazy things, you know, move your tools around, move your layers around, and, you know, just try kind of getting comfortable, just kind of clicking, interacting, exploring in that way. Okay, so one more thing that might happen as you are kind of clicking, exploring, and doing all that. You may say, I think I'm going to click on this X and see what happens. Does anybody have a guess as to what clicking on the X might do? And if you're watching via video, you can have a guess as well. Okay, everybody's saying close, and let's see. Yep, it's gone. Yeah, it's gone again. Like, hey, all these things, you click on the X and it disappears. And that's exactly as it should be. So if you happen to close something that you don't need or that you want, and it's just like a total, oops, I clicked the X, what should I do? Like we said, Photoshop has a ridiculous amount of grace. So what you're going to do is just come up here to Window and then just find whatever it is that you closed and click on it, and it will appear again. So I closed my toolbar, so I'm going to click Tools, and it's going to open up. I closed my Layers panel, so I'm going to click Layers, and it'll open up. So you guys will see this is, when I first opened up Photoshop, I only had two things open. It's mostly because I am one of those people that's highly distracted by stuff. And so I always like to come into Photoshop and close everything and then just open what I need. But that's my own kind of neurotic working way. So, you know, you guys do what works for you. But just know that if you accidentally close something, it's not the end of the world. Just go up to the window menu, find what you have closed, open it up again, and things things should be good. Things should work out. Okay, so that is basic Photoshop 101. So does anybody have any questions just overall about anything? So you get distracted, fly could go by and you pay attention. Yes. So if you are a distractible person, just click on all of these things, pull them out of their pull them out of their spaces on the dock. It's kind of fun. It feels very much like you're like cleaning up without having to actually move. So, and then you two can just have so much more working space. So it's quite nice. Okay, so this is like basic introduction to Photoshop interface. So now we're going to open up the assignment and then see how we can actually do a demo in the assignment using some of the things that we have learned or that we will learn in this time. Okay, so let's go to the assignment and check that out. Okay, so for this assignment, you will create a desktop wallpaper using tools in Photoshop. So you may say, desktop wallpaper, what is that? Basically, desktop wallpaper is what you have as your background. So here is my desktop wallpaper. It says, "You've got this." I did not create this, but I will say I look at it on a regular basis and I'm always like, I don't think I do. But if you say so, wallpaper, I will believe you. So, so what you guys are going to do for this is kind of use some different tools in Photoshop to create something that could possibly be a desktop wallpaper for someone else or for yourself, or just to kind of play around. So there's a couple different kind of requirements for the wallpaper. So first one is that it must be in color. Second one is that it must be 4 inches high by 9 inches wide. Just kind of an FYI, it's a little small for wallpaper for a computer. It's more like a wallpaper for a tablet, but if you make something really cool, we can talk about how to make it a bit bigger. So 4 inches by 9 inches, and then submit as a compressed file, JPEG, and the native file, .psd to the Dropbox. So we'll talk about kind of what that terminology means in a lot of ways. So here's a good resource of numerous tutorials to get you started. Once you learn the steps and work with the tools, try new effects in your designs. So this is basically if you want to follow a tutorial and create from that, there's a list of several here. If you want to follow a tutorial and create from that too, another really good place to check is open up a new document, go to Google, and just type in easy Photoshop wallpaper tutorials and see what comes up. And so, you could just go through one of these tutorials and turn in your project, or you can just, kind of make up your own thing in Photoshop. It doesn't matter kind of how you get there. So the heart of this assignment is really for you all to just get into Photoshop and to start kind of clicking, changing, dragging, creating, manipulating, just kind of exploring the interface overall. So you could follow this link, get some tutorials. You could do a Google search, get some tutorials, or you could just watch what I'm doing and kind of, let your own creative juices kind of fly as they will. Okay, so 4 inches by 9 inches is where we are headed. Okay, so to open a new file in Photoshop, we're going to come up here to the very top where it says File, and we're going to go File, File New. And here is our new document dialog box. So what we're going to do here for this assignment, and this is, you guys are going to pretty directly do this, so pay attention. So File New, you don't need to do the file name, but you do need to do the width and the height. So I believe I don't have a very good long-term memory. Okay, 9 inches wide, 4 inches high. So we're gonna come over here. So width, it's gonna be 9. And this should say inches. If it doesn't, hopefully you guys can see this little arrow. Click on it, find inches. So you want it to be inches, 9 inches. Height is going to be 4 inches. And you can keep resolution at 300. You can keep color mode at RGB, and then click OK. Okay, so is everybody with me? So File, New, and then width is 9 inches. Height is 4 inches. 300 resolution, RGB, and we're good. Okay, so you should have something that looks like, looks like this, kind of like a long rectangular billboard. Okay, so second step that we are going to do is we are going to save our file. So not very exciting, but we're going to save it because Photoshop and all Adobe products in general tend to be slightly glitchy. So you want to save early and save often. Because in case your computer crashes, in case your power goes out, just in case some freak thing happens, you want to make sure that you have a copy saved and that you don't have to like start all the way at the beginning with whatever you're doing. Okay, so we're going to save this as last name, so whatever your last name is, _assignment1. And then we want to make sure that our format is going to be something called PSD. So you can see right now mine is JPG. We don't want it. We want the PSD, and so that's going to actually be Photoshop. So I'm going to click on that and look at the end of my file, how it's going to change. PSD. Okay, so basically what this is called, what PSD is it's what's known as the native Photoshop file. So PSD stands for Photoshop document, and basically this is like Photoshop's first language. This is what it's going to understand best. This is what's going to kind of allow you to go back and change and shift and perfect different elements if you want to. So you always want to save things in their native format for whatever this or for whatever the software is that you're working in. So in this case, that's going to be a PSD, which is going to stand for Photoshop document. So if you don't see it, if you two are on the JPEG train like I was, just come over here to Format, click the arrow, choose Photoshop, and then note where it's saving to, and then click Save, and you should be good. Okay, so everybody's still with me? Are we still kind of tracking? So File, New, 9 inches wide, 4 inches high. You can keep everything kind of together. Looks good. Okay, perfect. All right, so we got the we got the paper set up. We have it saved. You guys are probably like, let's actually do something. This is Photoshop, Lisa. This is not like opening up white squares and saving them. So yeah, totally with you. Let's do something cool. Okay, so what I'm going to show you are basically 2 tools from the toolbar, as well as a couple different things to do in the layers panel, and working a little bit with an actual photo in Photoshop. So this is kind of what we're probably going to be doing for the remainder of this course. So 45 minutes covering this stuff. So 2 tools, something in the layers panel, and working with an actual photo. So first tool that I'm going to show you in the toolbar is this guy over here. And this is what's known as the rectangular tool, or also known as the shape tool. Can you guys see? I had just hovered over this and there's a little something that said rectangle tool. Can you see that, or is that just a me thing? Okay, excellent. Yay. Okay, so a cool thing about Adobe is that they have these, these things called tool tips, which is when you hover over a tool, if you kind of stay there for a second, there's a little box that will come up and it will actually tell you what the tool is. And if you, and it doesn't, it doesn't stay up long, so you gotta look. But the other thing too is when you see it, there's also a letter in parentheses, and what that letter refers to is the shortcut for the tool. So we talked in our slides about keyboard shortcuts. So Adobe's kind of giving you a little heads up, like, hey, you know, I'm going to reveal what tool I am and a top secret tip of what my shortcut key is. So kind of a, it's kind of a cool thing. Like, you know, don't be distracted by it now, but just kind of know what it is. And it might be another thing to try, you know, once you have your Photoshop, to just kind of hover over these tools and just see what they're saying their names are, and kind of see if you can find that little letter, whatever it might be. Okay, so we're going to use the rectangle tool. And does anyone remember on the toolbar itself, what do these little triangles in the lower right-hand corner, what do those tell you? Does anyone remember that from our opener, or I guess from our slides? Okay, so we have nesting, other tools, more options. Exactly. So this little indicator means that there is much more than meets the eye going on. So basically to access that, what you're going to do is just click and hold, and you'll see the whole, kind of the whole sphere of other options that are underneath it. So what I'm doing again, I'm clicking on the tool and I'm holding it down. So on my trackpad, I'm holding down my trackpad with my thumb. And then I'm coming over with my first finger and just kind of navigating, you know, up and down everything. So we're going to go back to here. So click and hold. And so you'll see that you could draw a rectangle, but oh, there's so much more. So you can draw a rounded rectangle, you can draw an ellipse, which is a fancy name for a circle. You can draw a polygon, so that's anything from a triangle all the way up to, you know, a septagon or something big. You could draw lines with a line tool, or you could do the custom shape tool, which could kind of draw like a blob-ish thing, which is kind of cool as well. So we're going to come over here and use the polygon tool because I'm actually feeling very triangular. So I'm just going to select it with my arrow, let go, and you'll see that I now have a polygon showing up in my toolbar. And then you will notice that at the top of my screen, this, which you may or may not have noticed before, but this thing is going to change. So oops, let me move down my zoom bar. Okay, so it looks like this in just average everyday life. And then I'm clicking on my polygon tool and watch, because it's going to change. Oh, pretty cool, hey? Yeah, okay, so so the cool thing about most Adobe products is that they have kind of tools that customize whatever's showing up at the top part of your screen, and then you can actually kind of further manage and manipulate the tools by making adjustments to the stuff at the top of your screen. So you can see here I have my polygon, so it's going to be a shape, which is great. It's going to be filled with this color, kind of turquoise. It's not going to have a stroke, otherwise known as an outline. And then here's just some other stuff. So it's going to have 3 sides. So it is a triangle. So if you wanted like an octagon or something, you could set that here. But yeah, so this is going to kind of customize what I'm doing. So I'm going to click and drag and make a triangle. Okay, and I'm going to make just kind of some abstract. This is going to be fairly abstract wallpaper. Okay, so I clicked and dragged, made my triangle, and you'll also notice that I zoomed out because I was right about, oops, I was right about here, and I felt like that was kind of big. So I click and drag and make my thing. And then I zoomed out because I just wanted to see it better. So this is kind of a thing that I feel like you should learn, even if you're not learning any toolbar shortcuts or keyboard shortcuts, tool shortcuts yet. It's Command plus or Command minus. And basically what that does is it lets you zoom in, so Command plus. Command minus lets you zoom out. So, just kind of practice zooming in and out. And the reason that that's helpful is because oftentimes you want to zoom in really close and kind of really examine your pixels and what's going on. But then you also want to step back to make sure that what you're creating, what you're making, is actually making sense. So Command plus gets you in, Command minus kind of takes you out. Okay, so I'm going to draw a couple more of these, maybe change the color. Maybe yellow. So to change the color, I just clicked on the fill, chose a color, clicked on the fill again, and it disappeared. And you'll notice that when you draw these, you can kind of move them around. You can get big, you can get small. This is, again, like you just have to play around because even though it's software, it is kind of a muscle memory. So how you kind of manipulate it really is, you have to get the feel in your fingers so that you know how different things are feeling. Okay, so when we have this kind of moving around, has anybody been looking at my layers panel and what's been happening there? So every time I draw a polygon, what seems to happen in my layers? What have you guys been noticing? Okay, every time I do a polygon, what happens? Looks like a new one is added. It adds a new polygon. Exactly. So remember, as we said a bit earlier in our session, Photoshop works on layers, and layers are kind of stacks of things. And so every new element that you add to Photoshop also tends to put in a new layer as well. So it's kind of a cool thing to just kind of see how it organizes, see what gets kind of what gets put where. Okay, so if you want to move around any of your pieces, so like let's say I don't like that this polygon is, or that this triangle rather is kind of off my board, I want to move it. The tool that we're going to use for that is this guy up here, which is the Move tool. So it kind of looks like a compass-ish thing. So we're going to click on it. And then this is very important. You need to select the layer that has the element that you want to move before you can move the element. So let me say that again. So we click on the Move tool. If I want to move this big, I was going to say this big blue triangle, but it's kind of like an aqua. So if we want to move this one, I have to make sure that I have the layer selected, which means that it's lighter gray in color. So if I want to move this one, but I have this top one selected, what's going to happen? Oops. What's going to happen is that this guy is going to move instead, because this is actually the shape that's on polygon 4. So it looks like I want to move polygon 2, so I want to select polygon 2 and then move it around here. So it's very important that you move the right thing so you have the right layer selected. Otherwise, it's just unfortunately not going to work. So if you want to resize, kind of the same thing, you have to have the layer selected. And then you also are going to need to have this thing up here checked. So can you guys all see where it says Show Transform Controls? So you want to make sure that that box is checked. And then when it's checked, you can kind of move or resize resize your shape however you would like. So, and then when you have it to a good size, just click check and it will work. Okay, so you guys kind of get that? So if you want to move something or resize something, most important thing is that you have your layer selected in your layers panel. And then if you want to resize, that you have show transform controls checked. And then you can kind of, click and grab one of these little boxes and then really kind of get into what's going on and be able to kind of create and move and that sort of thing. So kind of cool. Okay, so there's one other thing I was going to say, but I forgot what that was. All right, well, after you transform something, I always like to uncheck it because I always I always feel like less is more. So we don't want to have too much going on. Okay, so we got drawing shapes. We kind of got changing color. We got kind of moving shapes around, resizing shapes to have it kind of be different stuff. So you guys ready to add a picture? See kind of what a put the photo in Photoshop, I should say. See how that works. Okay, so let's go into the internet, and I'm actually going to, you can use, well, I could use anything I wanted to, I guess, for this assignment, but I'm going to go to a stock photo site, which I have recently discovered and completely fallen in love with, and that is this place called Pexels.com. Best stock photos in one place. Apparently I can't read, but I'm going to download a picture from here and then bring it into Photoshop, and I'm going to do some cool stuff with it. So for this assignment, if you would like to use a photo, like you don't have to, you could just do shapes. But if you want to use a photo and you don't have one that you have taken, so you don't have one readily available, you can feel free to come to a place like Pexels and use a picture if you'd like. So here's Pexels. So we're going to search for free photos. I'm going to go with ocean. So it's just like doing a Google search. Oh, only the photos are amazing and they're free. So like sorry about that. So what's not to love about these things? Okay, so I am going to go with this one. So when you find a photo you like, just click on it and then just look around, see if there's similar photos. Okay. So when you find one you like, just click where it says free download. And again, I'm using this because I want to. You don't have to use Pexels. You don't have to use the ocean. But this is just an interesting resource that you might like. Okay, so then to get a photo from your computer screen, actually into Photoshop, I think the easiest way to do it is if you just do a right click. And who here is thinking, I have a Mac, it doesn't have a right click? You would be correct. But basically what you're going to do is just to hold down your control key and click, and then that will mimic right clicking. So again, hold down your control key, click once on the picture, and then you'll see a little menu open up, and you can just do save image as. And ocean wave looks good, and we'll click save. Okay, and so I think I saved it to my desktop. All right, so we're going to go back into Photoshop, and we are going to put our picture of ocean waves with our little triangles. So how we're going to do that is we're going to go to File, Place. So we talked about that also a bit earlier, so we're going to actually do it this time. So we're going to come here to File and go to Place Embedded. So right here, Place Embedded. And we're going to find our pick, which is here, and click, place? Okay. Ah, there it is. All right, so just like with our shapes that we resized, we can resize a picture too. So you just click and drag. The one thing to think about with a picture is always, always, always hold down the Shift key when you're resizing. So if you don't hold down the Shift key, it's not really going to be that noticeable with this picture because it's so linear, but it will distort and kind of pull your picture in ways that are kind of unfortunate. So you want to hold down your Shift key and then kind of move, resize, that sort of thing. So always, always, always hold down Shift because a distorted picture is a very, very unfortunate thing. Okay, so when you have your picture, kind of however big you want it, you know, whatever you're going for. This could be even really like super abstract, and we could, you know, put it upside down if we wanted to, which actually might be kind of cool. I think I like it upside down. Okay, so we're just gonna click our little check mark to commit the change. And then you will notice something in my layers panel, and that is the fact that I suddenly can't see my polygons, my little triangles anymore. So why do you guys think that that is? What's going on here, and what happened to my polygons? Did they actually disappear, or where are they? What's going on? Okay, they are under the picture. Exactly. So you look here in the layers panel. So even though it looks like the ocean has washed the polygons away, what's actually going on is that they are underneath the wave. So if we want to see our polygons, what we're going to actually have to do is move the wave itself to the bottom of the stack. So to do that, we're just going to grab where it says wave ocean and just drag it down so it's under the polygons. And just like that, order has been restored. So you can rearrange your layers however you want to. And it's, you know, if I were to rearrange my polygons, I wouldn't really be able to kind of notice. But if things are overlapping, then you suddenly realize that, that you may need to rearrange. You may need to just create kind of a bit more order in what you're doing. And again, to do that, you just click on the layer, you just kind of move it around, and you can kind of let it go when it's in between two layers or one layer or whatever, and it seems to work. So kind of move it around, see what it's revealing, see what it's kind of concealing, that sort of thing. Okay, so next thing we're going to look at in our layers panel is this little thing right here. It currently says normal, but what these are, again, you can see Photoshop is being very handy. This is what's known as the blending mode of a layer. So when it's set to normal, it just looks, you know, normal. But if you take this and you try a couple of these, you'll see that these are different ways that the kind of different ways that light is going to hit whatever's on that layer. So let's, for example, do this one as overlay. So this was my pink. Let me make it a little bit bigger so we can actually see it. My pink triangle. And so it was just a pink triangle, just a normal average one. And then suddenly I go to overlay, and woo, it turns it into something really cool, and kind of vaguely like Hawaiian tropical, which I kind of like. But yeah, so anyway, these blending modes for layers impact how the shape looks when it's mixing with whatever's on layers underneath it. So with this one, you know, when it's set to overlay, it makes the pink a lot lighter. And so, you know, let's do one with this guy too, see what happens. Ooh, yeah, you don't really see that very much. So maybe we try soft light. So all of these different, ooh, I kind of like that. All of these different blending modes are going to have slightly different looks to them depending on what color the shape is that's being blended and what color the picture is that is underneath the shape, or the other kind of pictures. So what I'm going to do is just go through and try a couple of these, and I would encourage you guys, give this a shot. Like, put a picture in. You don't have to do this for your wallpaper, but just put a picture in and try putting some different blending modes, because it's just a really fun way to build up a really interesting kind of sense of layering and kind of an overall look to your piece, without really, doing a lot of heavy lifting. And some of them you do something and nothing, like it's like lame. So you never quite know what's gonna happen with what you're doing. And then you can kind of overlap the shapes on each other, which is kind of cool to explore that kind of abstract-y feel. Let's see, this one. Let's see, can I use a copy of a picture that I drew freehand? Yep, yeah, for sure. Okay, I'm gonna put this guy here because I think this is gonna be really cool. So, and this is the thing, you guys, when you are doing this wallpaper, like, there are no expectations of what you should be making. Just use this as a time to kind of explore and play and see what happens and see what's out there, and kind of just go with it and see what you can come up with. And it's hopefully should be really fun, because I know I'm suddenly having fun. Okay, so we're gonna just put in a couple more of these little polygon guys, and then we're gonna talk about. We're gonna put in a couple more polygon guys because I like how this is headed. Okay, so I want to change this from pink to kind of an orange color, and suddenly I don't know where my controls are. Does anyone have an idea as to what I should do or where I should click in order to get back to that kind of that toolbar thing where I could change my colors for my triangle? Does anyone remember how I did that? Because this is again something that might happen. Okay, view. Not quite. What you're going to need to do is actually click on the polygon shape again. So remember, this is how we initially drew it. So you're going to want to click on it, and then you'll see you can have the customized toolbar, and then you can go in and click on fill and get a color in there, and then click. Okay, so then we're going to come over here and see what that looks like in overlay. Ooh, I don't know if I like that. Okay, let's do hard light. Ooh, yes, that was exactly what I was going for. Okay, and then move tool. You can kind of move this around. Let's see if we move this guy all the way down. Yeah, so you'll see again, just reordering your shapes, kind of moving them around. If you're playing with your blending modes, it really does have a pretty cool, pretty powerful impact overall on your piece. Okay, so remember how I said that Photoshop is very forgiving and is kind of lets you if you make a mistake, kind of lets you go back and kind of change it. So the way that happens is if you do this thing called Command Z. So let's say I'm moving my shape around and I'm like moving it through and I think, yeah, that's perfect. And then I decide to commit it. And then suddenly the more I look at it, the more I'm like, I think I actually kind of liked it before better. So rather than you having to like think back and actually remember what it looked like before, because it's hard sometimes, if you just hit Command Z on your keyboard, then it will take you back to whatever your last kind of look was for the piece. And it's quite handy because then you can try things, you can assess it, and if you don't like it, you can just Command Z and it'll take you back to how it was before. So this is like an Adobe wide thing, and it's extremely handy. because oftentimes some of us, or I would say all of us, might kind of make some issues. Okay, I think I actually like that one. Okay, so far, I mean, a wallpaper like this, I would be completely happy with. Looks like, you know, some skills have been involved. You've learned something, you've moved some things around. I'm completely biased because I created it, but I think it's pretty cool. So I'm going to show you guys just one more tool and one more tool potential in the toolbar. And then we're going to save it up and probably just about be on our way. But that tool that we're going to look at is the type tool. So T for type, which is right here. Okay, so we got our type tool, and basically, excuse me, Photoshop has a couple different ways to put type into a page. We're just going to look at one because for wallpaper, I would not guess that you guys are going to be writing paragraphs and paragraphs of text because it's wallpaper and that wouldn't really make sense. So we're just going to put in like one line, and this is how you do it in Photoshop if you're going to put like, you know, 1 or 2 words, maybe 3 type deal. So you're going to click on your T for your type tool, and then you're going to come into your document and click once, and you should see a little blinky cursor. And then when you see that little blinky cursor, you can just start typing, and I'm going to write sail. Oops, I'm going to spell it right. Sail away. Okay, and you'll see that just like magic, type appears. So if you see your type and you're like, well, that's nice, but not anything that I really want to use as a font, super easy to change. You just highlight it. So again, I clicked and dragged to highlight, and then come up to the top of your screen where just like with the shapes where you could choose colors, you could choose all that sort of stuff. Here you can choose fonts. You can choose sizing, you can choose colors, you can choose orientation, all that good stuff. So I'm going to click here. So with my type selected, I'm going to click the little down arrow, and I'm going to choose a cool font that feels kind of free and sail away-ish. We're going to go with Beverly. And then I'm going to take my size of my font, and I want to make it a little bit bigger as well. So can you guys see when I hover over, I have the small t and the large T, suddenly my cursor goes from being an arrow to being like a hand with like 2 arrows on either side. Can you guys see that? Maybe, maybe not. This might be something that you will see on your own. Okay. You will see it on your own machine. Okay, so if you just, when you get the little like, as I'm making the hand motion but nobody sees it, when you get the little hand with the arrows, if you just click down and then drag to the right, you'll see that the numbers are getting bigger, and even more, you'll see that your type itself is getting bigger, which is kind of cool. So this is like an easy way to change the size of your type. So I'm gonna get it to a size that I like and let go. And then I'm gonna change the color of it. So again, this little box is just like with the shapes, it's gonna change the color. You can kind of move this guy around, you can move these around. What color do I want? I don't know. So you can even, this is kind of cool, you can even like click inside your document if you want to. Ooh, that didn't work at all. I think I kind of like that one. Yeah, no, this is a good one. Okay. And then when you find a color you like, just click OK. And then you can click your move tool and then kind of move it around, you know, however you want to. And ooh, I'm loving how this is coming together. Okay, and because it's in the layers panel, you know, if you want to do some kind of, some kind of layer style to it, Sometimes it looks really good. Other times it just disappears. Ooh, that's kind of cool. I like that. That's kind of fun. Okay, so zoom out. Oops, zoom out to just kind of get a good overview. Zoom back in to make sure that things are working. So again, zoom out is Command minus. Zoom in is Command plus. So kind of take a look, see it from far away, take a look, see it from close up, see if it's actually saying and doing what you were hoping that it would be saying and doing. Okay, so I'm going to come. I think I'm good. I think I'm liking where this is going. So I'm going to save this. So I'm going to go to File and Save As. Or I'm sorry, I already did that. So I'm going to go to File and Save. Just hit OK. So I save it again. So kind of quick pop quiz. My file is saved as a .psd. What is another name for the .psd? What is that also? What is that also called? And if you're watching via video, you're not off the hook. What's PSD called? Okay, Photoshop native, Photoshop. Yep, this is the native file, and this is what you are going to turn in, along with a JPEG as well. So you're actually going to turn in 2 versions. So we've got our Photoshop saved. So we're going to save the JPEG now, and it's pretty much an identical process. So we're going to come here to File and Save As, and then when it says Format down here, we're just going to click the little down arrow, and we're going to find JPEG and click on it. And you can see it's going to change in our Save As, and then we're just going to hit Save again. And then whatever this says here, maximum tends to work. So just click OK, and you're good. Okay, so the great thing about a Photoshop file, a PSD, aka a native, is that you can get in and you can you have all your layers preserved, everything stays with the file. It's kind of this nice, neat package. The bad thing about a native file is it tends to be very large, and so it's a little bit hard to email, a little bit hard to share, that sort of thing. So the great thing about a JPEG file is that it's very easy to share, but because it's compressed, so it won't have all the different layers, it won't have all the different elements. A JPEG is impossible to change. So very easy to share, but very hard to change. A native file is very easy to change, very hard to share. So kind of keep that in mind. Let's see, question in the chat box. So what if we have an HP and not a Mac? Same thing, completely the same process. So it will always be File and Save As, and then you just have to choose the format from whatever the drop down is. So it shouldn't be any different. So okay, so you're going to do both, so PSD and JPEG, and when you have your stuff, we're going to come over here to our classroom and just do submit, wherever that might be. I guess I don't have it because I don't have the view of submit, or do I? Nope, I guess I don't. Okay, so you guys have it, but I don't. But what you're going to do is add both of your parts, and it should be good. You should be able to go from there. Boy, I'm surprised I don't have the upload version, but anyway. Okay, so let's take a look at what they look like on my desktop, so we can just see again what we're in for. So here's a PSD. So that's what it looks like. Here's the JPEG, pretty much identical, but let's open up the JPEG in Photoshop so we can just see what it looks like. Oh, look at the layers panel, a whole lot of nothing. We just have background. So this is what it means when it's compressed. Everything goes into one layer. PSD, Photoshop native, we've got like 8 layers. So we have a lot of stuff that we can manipulate. So this one, it's a very small file, but we can't, so we can share it, but we can't change it. This one's a big file, so we can change it, but it's a whole lot harder to share. So both have their places, which is why for this assignment, you're getting practice using and making both of them. Okay, so I think that's all I have to say about that. So do you guys have any questions? If you're here in person, anything about the desktop wallpaper, anything Photoshop-y-ish. So the assessment is a quiz, and just a heads up, if you listened during this presentation, you probably should be able to do it, and you probably should be able to get a pretty good grade. So, excuse me, just a good to know thing. And then also with the discussion for this week, just make sure you're getting in. It's a very provocative question about photoshopping and kind of how much is too much, what is perfect. As designers, kind of what role will we play in that? It's kind of it's a good thing to think about, kind of a good thing to consider, for sure. All right. Well, thanks guys for a great first class. As always, if you have any questions, feel free to reach out. Just a couple of reminders: we will have a multi-session on Thursday at 1 p.m. Mountain Time. So if you make something before then and you want to kind of share it or see what I think, or if you're stuck on anything, or if you've made a bunch of stuff and just want to share them, I love seeing stuff. So I would, I'd love it if you came and hung out for a while. Otherwise, I will, look forward to seeing everybody next week. And hope you guys have a great day and a great rest of the week. All right, thanks guys. And don't forget, install Photoshop ASAP so you can start playing around and building cool stuff. All right, sounds good. Thank you, everybody.